fighter in the world, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
And Khabib Nurmagomedov is immediately resorted to tears.
The UFC cage witnesses every emotion. Victory, rage, fear, and triumph all find their place under the bright lights.
When you're on the UFC, like Instagrams, you're gonna get just...
But sometimes, the toughest fighters in the world break down completely. These are warriors who walk through hell every training, knock them out cold, who push their bodies past what most people think is possible. Yet there are moments so heavy, so overwhelming, that even they cannot hold back tears.
Bottling up a lot of those emotions here during this fight week.
From devastating losses to impossible choices, from saying goodbye to loved ones, to walking away from the sport forever, these are the saddest moments that made UFC fighters cry. Khabib Nurmagomedov, October 24th, 2020, Fight Island, Abu Dhabi. Khabib Nurmagomedov dropped to his knees in the center of the octagon and sobbed into his forearms.
Fight week.
He felt different. This win hurt. Just 3 months earlier, Khabib's father and lifelong coach, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, died from COVID-19 complications. The man who trained him since childhood, who turned a boy from Dagestan into an unstoppable champion, was gone. Khabib had fought through it all. Broken foot, interrupted training camp, the crushing weight of grief, because he promised his mother this would be his final fight. When it ended, everything came pouring out. The referee didn't even notice Gaethje tapping at first. The American went completely unconscious from the triangle choke, and only then did the official step in. As medical staff rushed to check on Gaethje, Khabib collapsed in tears. Even through the broadcast, you could hear him crying. This was the first time the world saw Khabib fight without his father in his corner. When he finally stood up and took the microphone, his voice cracked.
First of all, I want to say Alhamdulillah. God gave me everything.
He thanked his team, thanked his coaches, and then he said the words that shocked everyone. This was my last fight. No way am I going to come here without my father. He explained that his mother didn't want him to fight anymore, that she had begged him not to go through with it. But Khabib gave his word, and in his culture, your word is everything. So he fought one last time. He won one last time. And then he placed his gloves on the canvas and walked away. Khabib wasn't just retiring from fighting. He was honoring a promise to the two people who mattered most. His father's dream had been for Khabib to reach 30-0, to cement his legacy as the greatest lightweight of all time. But without Abdulmanap there to see it, the dream felt hollow. UFC President Dana White later revealed that Khabib had fought with 2 broken toes and a fractured bone in his foot. He had been hospitalized 3 weeks before the fight, but never said a word. He just showed up and did what he always did. Dominated. That's what made the tears even more powerful. This wasn't a man who quit. This was a man who had given everything to the sport and realized that some things matter more than belts and records. Khabib had cleared out the lightweight division. He had beaten Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Rafael dos Anjos, and now Justin Gaethje, all former or future champions. He had nothing left to prove, but more than that, he had nothing left to give. His father wasn't there to push him, to guide him, to celebrate with him, and his mother, who had already lost her husband, couldn't bear to lose her son to the violence of the cage. So Khabib chose a family. He chose love. He chose to honor his father's memory by living the life Abdulmanap would have wanted for him. Because at that moment, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the baddest man on the planet, looked more human than ever. Derek Lewis. Not every fighter gets to leave on their own terms. Some have the decision made for them by their bodies, by injuries that refuse to heal, by pain that becomes unbearable. In October 2017, Derek Lewis was hours away from the biggest fight of his career. He was set to face former heavyweight champion Fabricio Werdum at UFC 216 in Las Vegas. A win would launch him into title contention, but Lewis never made it to the cage. Instead, he spent the evening in his hotel room, unable to move, crying like he hadn't cried in years. Lewis had been dealing with back problems since 2011, bulging discs that flared up during training. In his previous bout against Mark Hunt, his back seized up mid-fight, and he still kept going until Hunt finished him in the 4th. After that loss, Lewis even talked about retiring, but he changed his mind. He wanted one more shot, so when the UFC offered him Werdum, he took it. The training camp was brutal, but Lewis pushed through. He made weight. He did all the media. He was ready. Then, on fight day, everything fell apart. Lewis woke up and couldn't move his legs. The pain in his back was so intense that it took him hours just to get to the bathroom. His coaches saw him struggling and knew immediately this fight wasn't happening. They told him he had to pull out. Lewis refused at first. He knew how much this fight meant, but when he tried to stand, the pain shot through his spine like fire. There was no way he could fight. There was no way he could even walk to the cage. The UFC pulled him from the card, and Lewis broke down. "I was crying like a big-ass baby," he admitted later. "My coach knew how much this fight means to me, and I didn't want to pull out for nothing." His wife tried to comfort him. His team tried to lift his spirits, but nothing worked. Lewis was devastated, and it wasn't just about the fight, it was about the money. As a heavyweight on a pay-per-view card, Lewis stood to make around $300,000, but because he pulled out on fight day, he didn't get paid, not a cent. All that training, all that sacrifice, all that pain, for nothing. Lewis later said the emotional pain of pulling out was worse than any loss he had ever experienced. Losing a fight hurts, but at least you get closure. At least you know you gave it your all. But pulling out? That's different. That's wondering what could have been. That's knowing you let people down. Your team, your family, the fans who bought tickets expecting to see you fight. It's the worst feeling in the world. Lewis went on to have a successful career. He became a fan favorite known for his knockout power and hilarious post-fight interviews. But that night in 2017, in that hotel room in Las Vegas, pain, crying because his body had betrayed him. The bond between teammates in MMA is unique. You don't just train together, you bleed together, suffer together, push each other past your limits every single day. So when one of them decides to hang up the gloves, it hits differently. Paddy Pimblett. On March 22, 2025, Paddy Pimblett sat cage-side at UFC London, watching his best friend and longtime training partner Molly McCann fight for what would be the final time. McCann had been a staple of the UK MMA scene for years. She was the first English woman to win in the UFC, a former Cage Warriors champion, and a fan favorite known for her heart and her iconic spinning elbow knockouts. But more than that, she was Paddy's big sister. The two had trained together at Next Generation MMA in Liverpool since the beginning. They had shared cards, celebrated victories, and supported each other through losses. So when McCann stepped into the octagon to face Alexia Tainara, a short-notice UFC debutante, Pimblett was there to support her. But the fight didn't go as planned. Tainara took McCann down early and locked in a rear naked choke with just 18 seconds left in the first round. McCann tried to defend, but eventually she had to tap. When the fight ended, McCann took off her gloves and placed them on the canvas. The crowd inside the O2 arena knew what that meant. So did Pimblett. He sat there, frozen, as McCann grabbed the microphone and addressed the crowd through tears. "It's not good enough," she said. "The UFC deserves more. I deserve more. You all deserve more. Thank you and good night, UFC." Pimblett couldn't hold it together. Cameras caught him wiping tears from his eyes as McCann spoke. He had been there from the start of her UFC journey, and now he was there for the end. Later, backstage, McCann broke down again. "I'm not good enough to be in there," she said. "And that is okay. I'm not here to make up numbers. I'm here to win." The emotion in her voice was raw and painful.
The love that I've received, like obviously when you're on the UFC, like Instagrams, you're gonna get just...
The next day, Pimblett posted a tribute on social media. "Heartbreaking night last night watching my big sister retire," he wrote. "Been there with her from the start and will always be there. This may be the end of her fighting career, but it's far from the end of mine and her friendship. That's till death do us part." He called her a UK MMA women's legend and praised her for being the first English woman to win in the UFC. But what stood out most was the personal touch at the end. Emotional isn't even the word for last night, but even when I was crying, the meatball will never fail to make me laugh when she said, "Haven't done bad for a lesbo who was working in Subway, have I? Love you, Molly McCann, and always will me, big sis." That's the thing about MMA retirements. They don't just affect the fighter. They affect everyone around them. Coaches, family, training partners, friends. When someone you've spent years with in the gym decides to walk away, it feels like losing a piece of yourself. Molly McCann wasn't just a teammate, she was family. Some things are bigger than fighting. Some things put everything into perspective. Cody Stamann. On June 6, 2020, Cody Stamann entered the octagon at UFC 250, carrying a weight no fighter should ever have to carry. Just 9 days earlier, his 18-year-old brother Jacob had died unexpectedly in his sleep. The official cause of death was still unknown. The family was waiting for answers, but Cody didn't wait. He showed up to fight because that's what Jacob would have wanted. Stamann's opponent was Brian Kelleher, a tough bantamweight on a winning streak. This was a big fight for both men, a chance to climb the rankings. But for Stamann, the stakes were different. This wasn't about rankings or titles or money. This was about honoring his little brother. The fight was competitive. Kelleher came forward aggressively, landing hard shots throughout all 3 rounds, but Stamann stayed composed. He picked his shots, landed clean combinations, and used his wrestling to control key moments. When the final horn sounded, Stamann had done enough to win a unanimous decision, 30-27 on all 3 scorecards. But as soon as Stamann collapsed, he dropped to his knees in the center of the octagon and broke down completely. He had held it together all week. He had trained through the grief. He had made weight. He had fought for 15 minutes. But now, with the adrenaline fading and the reality setting in, he couldn't hold it back anymore. Joe Rogan approached him carefully for the post-fight interview, visibly emotional himself. Stamann wiped his eyes and tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "I've been fighting tears all day, just trying to hold everything together," he said. "It's a hard time for me. I had to buckle up and be a man and get this done for him, for my family and myself." The crowd at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas was silent. This wasn't a typical post-fight interview. This was a man mourning his brother in front of the world. Stamann later explained why he decided to fight. People had offered to postpone the bout, to give him time to grieve, to be with his family. But he asked himself one question: what would Jacob want me to do? The answer was clear. Jacob loved watching his older brother fight. He was a talented wrestler himself, a kid with incredible potential who looked up to Cody. He would have wanted Cody to step into that cage and give everything he had. So that's what Cody did. The tragedy made the victory bittersweet. Stamann won the fight, but it didn't feel like a win. How could it? His brother was gone. No amount of success in the cage could bring him back. In the days following UFC 250, Stamann opened up more about Jacob. He talked about how talented his brother was, how effortlessly gifted, how he had the potential to be even better than Cody. But Jacob had started going down a dangerous path. He was young, talented, and bored. He didn't have to work as hard as everyone else, so he stopped working altogether. The family didn't realize how serious things had gotten until it was too late. Stamann said he wanted to create a foundation in Jacob's name, something to help youth wrestlers in Michigan stay on the right path. He wanted to make sure what happened to his brother didn't happen to anyone else. Jose Aldo. Retirement in MMA is rarely clean. Fighters often leave too late, after too many losses, after their bodies have broken down. But sometimes, a fighter knows exactly when to walk away. On May 10, 2025, Jose Aldo fought for the final time. The former featherweight champion, one of the greatest to ever do it, faced Ayman Zahabi at UFC 315 in Montreal. It was supposed to be a bantamweight fight, but Aldo couldn't make weight. His body, after 21 years of professional fighting, just didn't have it anymore. They moved the fight to featherweight instead, and Aldo tried his best. He landed hard shots. He hurt Zahabi with a knee. Legendary was empty. Zahabi bloodied and beaten.
Oh my goodness. Ayman Zahabi might be down 2 rounds.
When the final horn sounded, all 3 judges scored the fight for Zahabi, 29-28 across the board. Aldo sat on the canvas, breathing heavily, looking lost. Then he stood up, took off his gloves, and placed them in the center of the octagon. Michael Bisping handed him the microphone, and Aldo, speaking through an interpreter, confirmed what everyone feared. "I don't think I have it in me anymore," he said. "This was a very tough week that I felt that I didn't have it in me. I don't want to go into war all the time and go through all this. I just don't have it in my heart anymore. I think this is the last time you're going to see me. I can't do this anymore." His voice was steady, but the pain was obvious. This wasn't an angry retirement or a bitter goodbye. This was a man accepting reality. Aldo had already retired once before in 2022, after losing to Merab Dvalishvili. He had been inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame in 2023, but then he came back, chasing one more run, one more shot at glory. He beat Jonathan Martinez in his return, but then he lost to Mario Bautista, and now he lost to Zahabi. The writing was on the wall. Aldo later revealed that the week leading up to the fight had been brutal. He had tried to cut weight, but his body shut down. He had dealt with injuries, a muscle tear in his arm, problems in his abdomen, a virus infection. He had been advised to pull out, but he refused. He knew this might be his last fight, and he wanted to go out on his terms, except it didn't work out that way. He lost a controversial decision in front of a foreign crowd. It wasn't the storybook ending he deserved. In October 2025, Aldo made his retirement official at UFC Rio. He walked to the octagon one last time, holding his gloves, flanked by his wife and children. The crowd inside the Farmazi Arena erupted. They chanted his name. They sang for him. Aldo placed the gloves on the canvas, and as the emotion hit him, he broke down. This was the king of Rio, the man who had ruled the featherweight division for years, crying in front of his people. He had given everything to this sport, his body, his prime, his legacy, and now it is over. Aldo leaves with a record of 32-10, with wins over some of the greatest fighters in history. He didn't chase money fights or easy matchups. He fought the best, every single time. And when his body finally said no, he had the courage to walk away. Chan Sung Jung, August 26, 2023, Singapore Indoor Stadium. Chan Sung Jung walked to the octagon for the final time. Zombie by the Cranberries played over the speakers, the haunting melody that had followed him for years, the song that made him a legend. He was facing Max Holloway, one of the best featherweights of all time, in a fight that felt like a passing of the torch. The first round was competitive. Jung landed solid shots, showing flashes of the fighter he used to be. But in the second round, Holloway started to take over. He hurt Jung with a combination and dropped him late in the round. Jung survived, but he was hurt. When the third round started, something changed. Jung stopped trying to be tactical. He stopped trying to protect himself. He just started swinging. It was a reckless, wild, vintage Korean zombie. He was going out the way he came in, guns blazing, no defense, pure chaos. Holloway met him in the center, and they traded bombs. Then Holloway landed a perfect counter, a short right hand that crumpled Jung instantly. He fell face first to the canvas, completely unconscious. The referee waved it off at just 23 seconds into the round. When Jung woke up, he knew it was over. Not just the fight, his career. He sat up, dazed, and asked for the microphone. Michael Bisping handed it to him, and Jung, still wobbly, addressed the crowd. "I'm going to stop fighting," he said. "I always aimed to be a champion when I first started the sport. I'm not here to be ranked 3rd, 4th, or 5th. I tried my absolute best to prepare for Max Holloway. I really believed I could beat him, but I ended up failing. So I don't think I have the opportunity anymore. So I think I'm going to stop fighting for now." He took off his gloves and placed them on the canvas. The crowd inside the Singapore Indoor Stadium started singing. Not booing, not cheering, singing. They sang "Zombie" by the Cranberries. The song that had become synonymous with Jung's career. The entire arena joined in, their voices echoing through the venue as Jung made his way out of the octagon for the last time. He was crying. Not from the pain of the knockout, but from the emotion of the moment. This was it. 16 years of fighting, 16 years of wars, and it was over. Jung walked down the ramp, tears streaming down his face as the crowd sang for him. His wife was waiting backstage, and when he saw her, he collapsed into her arms. He had given everything to this sport. He had become a legend, but he had nothing left to give. Jung later explained his decision. He said he felt his chin had weakened over the years. He had taken too much damage, absorbed too many shots. He didn't want to become one of those fighters who stays too long, who gets knocked out over and over because they refuse to accept reality. He wanted to leave with his dignity intact, and he did. The Korean Zombie may not have been a champion, but he was one of the most beloved fighters in UFC history. He gave fans wars with Leonard Garcia, knockouts over Mark Hominick, submissions of Dustin Poirier, and countless other unforgettable moments. He fought through a shoulder injury against Jose Aldo. He endured military service and came back stronger. He fought the best and never took an easy fight, and when it was time to go, he went out swinging. As the fans sang him out of the arena, as his wife held him tight, Chan Sung-jung realized something important. He may have lost the fight, but he had won something far more valuable: the love and respect of everyone who ever watched him compete. What was the saddest UFC moment for you? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to MMA Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.